Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Tool Tech Tuesday with JIMS. Today, as summer is approaching, we're going to chat about one fantastic way to help keep your Harley-Davidson much cooler. So stick around. At this point, we've already removed a seat and a fuel tank from a freewheeler. It's an M8 that we've actually built a performance engine for, 128 cubic inch. It's quite a screamer. And he does spend a lot of time in traffic and wanted to be able to keep this thing a little bit cooler. The product today that we're going to talk about is the JIMS Force Flow Fan. Now, before I get into that, I want to talk about a couple of key elements that I believe are important when we're talking about keeping your motorcycle as cool as possible. And some of those things, I think, really make this particular product shine. We have to remember we are dealing primarily with air-cooled engines. Sure, the later model M8s have supplemental oil cooling, and some of the twin cams also had supplemental liquid cooling, and then you can have liquid cooling on the M8s as well. And that does help, but we have to remember that in many cases your stock motorcycle is still tuned to an EPA compliance, depending on where you live, your altitude, your environment, and your weight, how you pack, how you travel, the octane of fuel you have. All of those things play a factor into how hot your engine can run. Now, another thing we need to think about is one of the other ways that you tune or that you control the temperature of that engine is with ignition timing and fuel. Now, unfortunately, with the new warranty standards in place, you can't really do any custom tuning on a new motorcycle without avoiding or affecting your factory warranty. So we have to think of ways that we can cool this down without getting into that. Give all you guys that are under warranty a way that you can still cool it down without having to do that. And also guys that have are outside of warranty, maybe had your engine tuned, maybe you've had a performance engine built. Now, you do have quite a few options out there when it comes to fans, but there's a couple of attributes that I particularly like about the JIMS unit that I believe sets it apart. Now, when you open the box, you get, of course, the fan itself, you get a wiring harness, it has a built-in relay, and you'll notice this device down here. I think this is one very important element. Your fuel system is largely controlled by the engine temperature. It actually is possible to cool your engine too much. If you run the engine too cool and outside a normal and what would be healthy operating range, as that engine gets cooler, the fuel injection system actually delivers more and more fuel. So in some cases, you really don't need to run a fan all the time, and that's where this comes in. This is a thermostatic switch. And this mounts on top of the rocker box and is calibrated to activate at 140 degrees. And we find this is a plenty adequate temperature to kick the fan on at the right time to help cool the cylinder heads down, which effectively will cool your oil temperature and the rest of the engine as it travels through it. The next key element that I like is this is actually mounts on the horn side of the motorcycle. And this is a replacement for your factory horn as well. It includes this bracket and also rubber isolators, but it is rigidly mounted on the heads, so you have the vibration dampening to protect the motor and keep everything quiet. But at the same time, this is also rigidly mounted, so you don't have it bouncing around in there while the bike is idling or you're going down the road. So it's a fantastic way to mount the thing. There's also a second way that you can hook it up. Of course, you have the thermostatically controlled switch here, and then you also have a master switch. You can turn this switch off when you don't need the fan to engage or choose to not have it engaged. But you can also bypass this thermostatic switch as well, and in the instructions it tells you how to do that, to where you can just have manual control of the operation of the fan. So you've got some options there. Now, included in the fan, again, because it mounts where the horn goes, there is a horn integrated into this as well, and because it's a little bit smaller, it does have a slightly higher pitch than what your factory horn would. Now, some people do opt, of course, to relocate their factory horn. I've seen people mount them under a side cover on a down tube or anywhere else they can find it, and then you can just run jumper wires to that horn, and then you would have two horns running on two pitches. So, of course, it is available in black and chrome, works on twin cams and M8s. We're going to be running the harness down through here to get to our accessory connector underneath the seat. Now, the part of the harness will be exiting here in this channel. So we need to open this up and cut a small slit so that the harness can fall right through here. And you want to line this up directly above the center line of where your horn location is. Of course, you want to make sure that you've shifted all the wires over inside the channel so you don't cut any of them. Next, we'll remove the factory horn. When you remove your horn, you want to be careful to disconnect your horn terminals here. These will connect to the harness for the JIMS fan. Now, I've pre-installed the bracket. It just makes it a little easier to place it on the bike. And you'll notice in the instructions it gives you the torque values. You want to make sure to use some blue Loctite here and also tighten this down. This is a nylock nut here on the back. Also, you want to make sure your wiring harnesses are not routed underneath. You want to bring them up like this on each side of the mount. Now we can go ahead and connect the horn. You'll notice you have two different wire, red and black wire from your factory harness, and then a blue and black wire on these spade connectors here with the JIMS unit. It doesn't matter which you plug into. Now we want to unwrap the harness from the kit. For the thermostatic switch, you can actually mount this in multiple locations on the rocker boxes. However, this portion of the thermostatic switch must be touching the rocker box in order for the temperature unit in here to work properly. Now in the kit you have a long bolt and a spacer that would allow you to mount it here on the rocker box. Depending on some frames it can make that difficult to get into. So where I actually like to install it is on the center front rocker box. Now we want to make sure that our harness that we're actually connecting to the unit, which is here, that we position this in its location here so that to minimize routing an extra wire here. The rest of the wire we're going to tuck it into the channel. Again, my chosen mounting location for the thermostat is on the front rocker box here in the center. Yours can be anywhere else. Just make sure that this portion is directly connected to the rocker box. So we're going to I've already taken the factory nut out. We'll slide that one on, slide on the included washer, and then we can torque it back down. Now we can run the extra harness for the thermostat switch into the channel and just fold the extra over. There's plenty of room inside there. And then we can take the bundle of harnesses coming from the force fan unit, put a couple of small zip ties on them just to bundle them together. Now we only have two more wiring connections to make. One to your negative battery terminal here, our chosen ground. We prefer the negative battery terminal. The other is the orange wire coming off the original harness. Now inside the kit you have this 6-pin Deutsch connector. You want to locate your 6-pin connector underneath your left hand side cover here, and all the holes in this connector should be blocked off except for terminal number 5. So you want to make sure that you install this terminal into number 5. And when you slide it into place and you look inside, you'll see that that lock snaps down deep inside there and the terminal should be flush. You want to make sure you have your the rubber insulator here, and then you'll just install the lock. Then you can run this down, remove the cover from your 6-pin connector, and plug this in place. Now this wire can also be connected to any 12-volt switched power source in the event you can't get to this accessory connector. and then you can snap the channel back down. Of course, you want to make sure here you've got no wires pinched or anything like that. Another tip on this, you don't want to run any of the wiring too tight. You want to allow a little bit of slack at all the connections and here so you can have some movement. And then once you get all this snapped back down, you can reinstall your tank, seat, side cover, and go for a ride. After the install, flip your master switch on and go for a ride. Put yourself in situations that you may normally see, some traffic situations, or maybe just idling around town a little bit, and give a listen for that fan to kick on. Of course, you want to test the horn, make sure it's working as well. Hey guys, thanks a million for joining us for another Tool Tech Tuesday. We've got several videos coming with JIMS. We're working on our shovel head project, and we also have a lot of other tools to show you guys. Thanks again for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other. Have a good one.